Welcome to Gospel Tangents, the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology. I'm Rick Bennett. I'm excited to introduce Dorie Olds. You probably know her more famous husband, as we've talked about him quite a bit, Mark Hofmann. We'll talk about how Dorie and Mark met up at Utah State University. It's going to be a very fun conversation. And we'll talk about how Mark manipulated Dorie with his very first important forgery for the LDS Church. Check out our conversation. I'd also like to ask you guys to please sign up for our newsletter at gospeltangents.com/newsletter. We'll talk about some inside scoops and things like that. So please sign up. Now back to our conversation. Well, welcome to Gospel Tangents Podcast. I'm really super excited because I've got Dorie Olds here to tell her story. Dorie, can you tell us a little bit about how you are related to a guy that most people know, Mark Hofmann?
Well, I was his wife, and I am the mother of his children, so
You know him pretty well.
I know him pretty well.
Probably better than almost anybody in the world.
I don't know if I would agree with that, because I think you think you know somebody, and you don't. You know certain sides of them.
Yes.
And so I would say that there are maybe some aspects I know of him that others don't.
Okay.
That there may be aspects of him that others know that I don't.
Okay.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's fair. That's definitely fair. So there was a whole lot of deception going on. So,
yeah.
So the reason why we're here is we want to kind of hear your story. I mean, a lot of people know Mark's story. There's been books written about it. I don't think very many people know your story, and so we want to find out, what's your perspective on this, and hear what it was like, and that sort of a thing. So. Can you just give us a little bit of your background? I mean, I believe you grew up in Salt Lake, is that right?
Yes.
So,
born and raised in Salt Lake.
Okay.
LDS family, 8th generation Mormon. So had the history of family that was a Nauvoo and family moving and going across the plains, and a lot of the pioneer stories that are famous pioneer stories, or a lot of them have my family members in there. And families that came across the plains and settled in different parts of Utah. Several towns in Utah were founded by my family.
Oh, really?
So I have...
Do you have a famous pioneer last name or something?
Well, they have that 17 Miracles movie with Levi Savage. That's
okay.
an ancestor. Charlie Walker, who was quite well known in St. George area. He was my ancestor. There's books on him. There are others. In the history of Joseph Smith, there's a story of where they met. The people met to talk about what to do in Carthage at the end of where they needed to meet with military. That was in my ancestor's home.
Okay.
In that, if you read in the history where it talks about that, and I can't tell you right now the name just left my mind. So I was like, okay, I can't tell you the name.
It wouldn't be Jonathan Dunham by chance?
No.
Okay, all right.
No, but so there's parts of history throughout of my family and that energy that's come through, and the testimonies and the stories and the miracles that I want to say you live as a Mormon because you have your prayers and you have miracle. I mean, that's the life of a Mormon, is you do live in miracles. And so I have that as a background, and the background of sacrifice and crossing the plains and coming over and starting a whole new life, and in rural small towns. And both my mother and father were from southern Utah, from small towns, from that heritage.
Okay.
And that's what I grew up with. And when my father and his brothers and sisters were part of that generation of World War II and the GI Bill, and so they did the training with the GI Bill. They got the education, and then all their family. That's the time when families kind of scattered, and so my dad came up to Salt Lake, and that's where he lived, and that's where I was raised. That's where we moved to, and I was raised in a ward. My family, my parents helped build the ward that we lived in, and they'd lived there for 50 years, and in a community in Salt Lake. So that's my background, is living in
Great.
Salt Lake.
See, my dad's a convert to the church. My mom kind of has some German ancestry as pioneers, but not like Willie Company or anything like that. So that's interesting to hear. So I know I'm sure there's a lot of people that don't have that pioneer background, but that's something I didn't know. So that's very
And there are those that think it means something, and it doesn't mean anything, except it is part of your experience. It is, there is a energy that comes through with that. But you're not special. So there are some people think they're special because they have that. No, take that away. We each have our own journey.
That's right. Well, tell us about, how did you meet Mark?
I was attending Utah State University.
Okay.
I had gone to Dixie College, which for 2 years, and then was moved up to Logan and was going to do 2 more years there. And in the apartment complex where I lived, he lived upstairs. Okay. So I was on the second level. I think he was on third level.
Okay.
And so that's how I got to know him. He would live in the same apartment complex.
Okay. You didn't have any same classes together or anything?
No, didn't have any classes together. He had I didn't know this initially, but he had broken up with he'd got engaged and had broken up right before school started with this woman that he was engaged to, and she would come up and they would sit in her, I think it was her car, sit in her car and make out, and I'd watch them make out.
Really? Wow.
So I wasn't anything that was impressed, or that was the first thing, was like, who's that guy and what are they doing and how ridiculous, and it wasn't any like love at first sight and we're to be together. It wasn't none of that. It took time to go to that place. Okay. So
he broke up with this other woman, mm-hmm. and then you started dating. Is there any memory?
No, we started dating, and September was when school started, so that's when I noticed him, and that's when but it wasn't till like the April that we started even dating. So I knew him for all those months, got to know him, and I don't know. I'm not really remembering a memorable date. What started happening is I got to know him and his roommate, and I would go up into their apartment, and he would tell me these stories, and I would like to hit church history stories. And I just found myself liking to hear his stories, and he would invite me up and other people would come sometimes. Okay. And so that's how it kind of I got involved more with him, was through, because he had interesting stories to tell. And I liked his stories.
Now, one of the things, if I recall correctly, that happened up at Utah State was he had a Bible that had some pages glued together or something.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I was part of that story.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Tell us
I say, you really don't know the history. Okay. That story was after we were married.
Oh, that was after you were married.
Yeah. We got married, and he told me the story that he was going to school. I don't know. I don't think he was. I don't think that was, but I thought he was attending school. And so I was working, and then I left school because I couldn't. Someone had to pay the money to pay the bills, and so I left school, did that MRS degree thing, and started supporting the husband. And he was going to school, and we had got an apartment. An apartment in the basement of a home, and we were living there after we were married. And it was, I have to remember, it's kind of by the temple, in an older area of Logan. And he brought a book. He brought a Bible, and he said to me, "Well, look in this Bible." And it's like, here, look through this, or look through this thing. And I remember thinking, well, I'm tired. I'm back home from work. I'm not tired. I'm not really want to do that. And I kind of put it aside. And I remember having this funny feeling. Why do you want me to do this? Because it was like he was really insistent. Will you look through this? And so I did look through this. And there in the pages was a thing that was stuck. But part of me was like, wow, there's something in here. And part of me was like, I have a funny feeling about this. That something's going on that I don't understand in the process of that. But I went to him and said, there's something stuck in here. And he's like, oh, what a surprise. I wonder what that is. And it had been all, of course, he'd set that up so that he'd put it in there. So I would find it. I would be the provenance. It wouldn't be him. It would be something that could be documented that he, like, in a way, he had nothing to do with, because he didn't find it. I found it. And I had just handed me this book. So So that's the story of how it was the Anthon transcript and the symbols that were in there that was glued inside, and then he took them out, and then he took it from there.
Okay.
And I was the provenance for that. He was using me to be the provenance of that story.
He was saying that you actually found it, not him. Okay.
Not him, yeah.
Oh,
and so that it distanced him from that. And so he didn't know it was there. Yeah, that was the story that he set up. I definitely was an energy of, he definitely wanted me to do that, and but I wasn't, that's hard to explain. I came into that marriage not having myself. Like right now I can talk with you, I can tell you I have boundaries, but I came into that marriage very insecure, not trusting myself, which was, of course, perfect for him, because when you have someone who doesn't trust yourself, you're easily manipulated, easily told, well, that isn't true, or why are you doing that, or when I say, well, didn't you tell me this? Oh, no, I didn't tell you that. But then there's a part of you that knows. And so I came into that very insecure, not feeling confident, trusting him, and believing that he loved me, because, of course, you don't marry someone unless you love them. He's like, he wanted me to marry him. He wanted me to be his wife, and not seeing at that point, or not being able to see, or not being willing to see, or whatever. It's like what was really going on with the manipulation that was going on, because he was manipulating me.
Okay. You can see that now.
I can see it now, and I can look back and say, I remember having these feelings and this funny feeling, but I couldn't identify what it is, and I couldn't assert myself.
Okay.
So I couldn't, but there was part of me that knew something's going on here that isn't right.
Okay.
But I couldn't, but now looking back, hindsight's always much better. Yeah. So,
right.
But looking back going, that was why I felt that funny feeling, or that was why, because I remember wondering, why did you want me to do this? Because I didn't, at that moment, I could have, if he'd said, we'll do it later, or, look at it when you want to, but he was like, no, you got to do it right now, right now, right now. I was like, what is going on here? Because he was very insistent.
Okay. So, why was this Bible special? Or why
the Bible itself belonged to Catherine, who was a sister of Joseph.
Oh, Catherine Smith, I guess.
Catherine Smith, yeah, okay. A sister. So that created another provenance, so that it was like, well, this got in here because it was to been something that she put in there, or was at that home. It gave another provenance of how that could have gotten into the Bible, and that must be real. So the Bible itself was something, and then having that in that Bible, and then this must be real. This must be so. This must be an authentic document.
Okay. And so do you remember what he did with that after you discovered?
I remember he took it. He had this, oh, wow, all excited, and what is this? And he took it, and it was all stuck together. It was glued into the book. It's like there was some sticky stuff on the document that it was stuck into the book. And then he took that, and he took it in the kitchen, and I didn't watch him do this. He was excited. I didn't know about it. I was wanting to do other stuff, so I went and did my own thing. But using water, I don't know, something. Then he was able to unfold it and get it out, and then it's like, here, look at what this is.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he opened it at home.
Yeah. I think
really?
That's what I'm remembering. Now, see, this is something that sometimes you have memory plays trick, but it's like it seems like he pulled it out. I remember pulling out, and it was stuck. It wasn't all out open. It was folded up, but it was stuck together. And I think that he did that at home. But you know what? If that isn't accurate, then that's my memory. Okay. And I'm willing to know that, okay, now that didn't happen exactly that way.
Yeah, if I remember right, I thought he took it to the Utah State Library and had someone else open it.
Okay, so that may have been. But I remember him pulling it out. I remember taking it into the kitchen. So maybe he didn't open it all the way. But I remember taking him to the kitchen. There was something there. And quite frankly, I didn't care. At that point, I didn't care. And I was like, wow, how interesting, how good, and then off to what my own thing was that I wanted to be doing. But I could see he was really excited about it, and that it was something like, okay, so interesting. But he did take it into the kitchen, but maybe he only did a certain part with it, and then he took it up. Yeah, I remember him doing that. Yeah.
I wonder if maybe he opened it and then sealed it back up.
No, because he knew he put it in there.
Yeah.
He's the one that put it in there initially. He wouldn't have to do that. So if the record is that he took that, I remember him taking that and going in the kitchen. So obviously what he did was he didn't open it all the way up because, but he took it to the Utah State. So that makes sense. He's the one that put it in the book. He didn't need to open it up again. So he needed them to open it up. See here is where he sets things up.
Yeah.
He needed them, so he took it there and said, "Oh," and then he was like, "Oh wow, this is a whole new thing." So anyway, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He set the whole thing up.
Yeah, the story I remember was he had taken it. I want to say his name was Jeff Simmons or Jeff Simons or something.
Oh, Jeff Simmons. That's a familiar name to me.
He actually had him open.
Oh
it
yeah.
up
Okay. So that's what happened. But I remember him taking it and going into the kitchen. That's what I remember.
Okay.
But so then he did. Yeah. Then he must have taken it to Jeff Simmons. And this has been a long time ago, and I have to remember what do I remember. And so then he had Jeff Simmons be the one. See, he's got provenance. He's having all these people authenticate it for him, and using other people to get their. So it's like this must be real.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's using him to, but.
So that was the Anthon transcript. Was that his first really big discovery?
Yes, that's what I'm remembering. That was his first. Yeah.
Okay. And then.
You have to. Okay, his first really big discovery. It depends on what you mean by discovery, because he was doing his coin thing earlier than that as a teenager. And so those, quote, discoveries of coins that he was manipulating there, I don't know if that was a big discovery or not. I don't know. I don't know how to explain. Yeah, so that I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay, maybe we'll rephrase
Church
that.
history-wise, yes.
Yeah, church history discovery.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dorie Olds. In our next conversation, we'll talk about whether she had any concerns about her marriage to Mark.
But I knew inside myself this wasn't working for me. I had to do something. But I kept hearing those words inside me, just wait, just wait, just wait. And I trusted that. And looking back, if I believe, personally, now what, if I had fought for divorce, if I had tried to have a divorce, I think that he would have taken the kids. I think he would have run somewhere. I wouldn't have seen them again. I think so. He would have done something. I hope you enjoyed that short clip from our next interview. If you'd like to hear the entire interview uncut, please go to our patreon.com/gospeltangents and subscribe for just $5 a month. If you'd like a transcript of this, please click the yellow subscribe button at gospeltangents.com, and I'll send you this and all future transcripts. Also, if you'd like a paperback like we've got here, those are available at our website at amazon.com. Just do a search for Gospel Tangents. Please get all updates at our Facebook page at facebook.com/gospeltangents. We're also on Twitter at Gospel Tangents. You can also get transcripts individually at our website, gospeltangents.com/shop. Finally, make sure that you subscribe on our Apple Podcast page. Just do a quick search for Gospel Tangents there and give us a 5-star review while you're at it. Thanks again for listening. Your support helps create more Mormon history classes and podcasts such as this, and so I really appreciate you listening. Please share with your friends. Click here to subscribe, here for a transcript, and over here you'll see some more of our great videos. Thanks again.